Father Moses Berry is a priest in the Orthodox Church in America, a writer, founding pastor of Unexpected Joy Orthodox Mission in Ash Grove, Missouri, a small town in the Ozarks, which is where his family is from. He is also co-founder of the Brotherhood of St. Moses the Black and the founder of the Ozarks Afro-American Heritage Museum. I was really glad for the opportunity to spend some time with Father Moses recently at the 2018 annual conference of the Brotherhood of St. Moses the Black, and he graciously agreed to sit down with me for this interview. So I hope you'll enjoy this episode from my interview with Father Moses Berry.
Well, one of the challenges that I see, and also one of the greatest challenges, is that people are more and more, not just in Orthodoxy, but all throughout Christianity, are being informed as to proper behavior, proper ways of thinking, according to some idea that has emerged. And that idea has to do with the zeitgeist of the age, which says that people are responsible for their own destiny. And of course, we must all take responsibility for our lives and what we do, but it's ultimately in the hands of God. And I even hear Orthodox people of late saying such things as they really hope that such and such person becomes head of state. I remember once hearing my grandfather saying Jesus and one of his disciples were walking down the road. This is a little story. It's not a biblical story. And when there was this big controversy over Nixon and Kennedy being president, and my grandmother and everyone else was so interested in Kennedy becoming president. And my grandfather said, Jesus said two of his disciples were walking down the road. And then they had to sit down for a bit and they had a conversation. And one disciple said to the other disciple, who do you like the best? The Pharisees or the Sanhedrin? Which one of those is your favorite? And one said, oh, I like this one. And the other one said, oh, no, I like the other one. And he said, what do you think, Jesus? And Jesus said, that's not my kingdom. And I think that we're in danger of losing sight of what our kingdom is. We think it has to do with the way of this world. We take sides. We take sides, we condemn one another for being on the wrong side. And that doesn't mean that we're not active in politics. But my goodness, we think that's going to save us. We are so wrong. That's my biggest concern. And everything else revolves around that way of thinking. Whether or not it's how we look at other people, how we look at different races, how we look at economics, and everything else. Because when we hear render to Caesar that which is Caesar's and render to God which is God, we put them on the same footing. We don't always, but that's creeping in, and the shadow is coming over all of Orthodoxy in America. Someone from another country might say the whole world. But the whole idea of, I think Jesus would want this. And I remember hearing a few years ago when people started saying, what would Jesus do? And they said, well, Jesus would be for this Supreme Court judge who likes one thing or another. And he wouldn't be for that person. He would not be for that one person. And I always think to myself, what would Jesus do? Jesus would walk on the water. What would Jesus do? Jesus would spit on the ground, make clay, and put it on someone's eye, and they'd go over seeing. What would Jesus do? He would give himself for his brother. He would lay down his life. He'd be bruised for our iniquity and wounded for our transgression. That's what Jesus would do. So don't try and assign what the divine would do with what the finite would do. So these are the things that are getting so mixed up now. And I hear people saying this, and and it's creeping in, and I'm almost afraid sometimes of not even defending what I know is the way of heaven, because I don't want to be, you know, considered to be unsophisticated. I don't want to be considered as a man who looks for some sort of otherworldliness. We've got plenty to deal with down here. Isn't that the reason that Jesus came? So man would have to deal with these things. You have to live with them. You have to sort these things out, of course. But, you know, and I catch myself most of the time. Sometimes I don't. Sometimes I don't. This latest round of things with the election of the new Kavanaugh, the Supreme Court judge, and I found myself, you know, sort of understanding what someone meant. And I said, well, you know, someone said to me, you know, he should remember the things he did when he was a young man. And I said to myself, I was in such a, you know, drug-induced stupor as a young man that I don't even know what I did. I do know that I had a recovered memory this year, and I went back to Jefferson City, Missouri, because there was a man there that I made play Russian roulette with me, he and his girlfriend. And every time the trigger would go off, praise God, it didn't fire, I would laugh, just like the sound of hell, laughter from hell, in retrospect. And I went to Jefferson City to speak to that young man. Actually, I knew him. And I had a .32-20 revolver. And I asked someone recently, whatever happened to Larry Paul? And they said, oh, Larry, he's been in the insane asylum since you guys have been young people. And I went, oh my goodness, I have done this to Larry Paul. And they said, yeah. Well, I didn't tell them that because I was even ashamed to even admit it to anyone. Drove to Jefferson City, from Jefferson City, Missouri, from down the Ozarks in Missouri, and went to Larry Paul's parents' house, who had passed away. His older brother lived there. And I said, you know, I'm so sorry about your brother. I heard he's in, you know, an institution. They go, oh no. He said, no, he's not in an institution. He's just in some rehab hospital because of something with his leg. And I felt so relieved. And he came over, and I said, please forgive me for what I've done. And he goes, I already have. I go, no. And I thought he couldn't possibly be talking about this deep forgiveness I'm referring to. And I said, no, I mean, really forgive me. And he says, I have. And I said, yeah, but, you know, in a very deep way, just forgive me. And he said, Father Moses, he didn't call me Father Moses, Carl, is how he knows me. He said, Father Moses, just because you don't believe in forgiveness doesn't mean that other people don't. And I'm, oh my goodness. So, you know, if someone were to hold me to the standards of what I've done when I was young, I would definitely not, you know, be having this interview with you. At the same time, the spiritual side of that is that Jesus says we will not be released until we've paid the very last farthing. We are accountable for it. We are accountable for it. You can't stand before the dread judgment seat of Christ and say it's all over. Well, it's not all over. It's not all over. So Moses himself said, when he was about to be martyred, and his disciples were there, and they said that they said, we will stay with you. And he goes, no, you go away. And because I have lived by the sword and I will die by the sword. Who wants to hear that kind of stuff? You know, I mean, what I want to say is I'd like to get away from this whole mess. I'd like to say half of what Jesus said. He said, Father, if it be thy will, take this cup from me. Very poetic. What I think he was saying was, I don't really want this to happen to me. But nonetheless. So, you know, that's what my biggest fear is that we become, as a church, as Orthodox men and women, that we become so taken over by the cares and worries of this world. That's my big concern and challenge.
Hi again, hope you enjoyed this episode from my interview with Father Moses Berry. Please let me know what you thought of this episode in the comment section below. And please subscribe to get notified when new episodes become available, which happens every Friday. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next week.